The Other Side of the Fence, Chapter 6, by Alyssa Skinner. Things seemed strange in the street the next day. No drop-in visits or kids out to play. The bus ride was quiet and school was a bore. All the kids were inside at 4:45. Each Skinner was worried they'd done something wrong. First Ethan thought his outburst was too strong. Will wished that he hadn't passed on his words, and Harley was sorry he'd screeched at the birds. Their parents thought there were things to fix, but really their minds were all playing tricks. During the day, Mrs. Skinner felt lost. Their house was a mess, and their clothes were all tossed. She waited and listened for any small sound, so she could go out and see who was around. Mr. Skinner felt jumpy and needed a plan, so he worked in the garage in front of a fan. He had hoped that his friends would come over to chat, but the only thing visiting was the Lovejoy's cat. There were still things to do, but they felt so alone. They all moped about and started to moan. The next day on the bus, the mood was the same. They all stared straight ahead until the final stop came. On the way home, Will decided to try to make conversation and maybe ask why. He made small talk, but it just wasn't working. There must be something terrible lurking. As the bus pulled up to let the kids out, Will followed them off and started to shout. "Hey guys, wait for me," William pleaded. "You left out advice that is greatly needed. My family's a mess and I'm so confused. Do you have any ideas that I haven't yet used?" The kids gathered round him, but who would speak first? They all looked like they were going to burst. "I can't do it," Lily blurted. "He just looks so sad. He keeps looking at me and it makes me feel bad." "It's okay, Lily. It's time," announced Jack, and he started to sit and take off his backpack. "I'm sorry you're sad, but that's part of Phase 5. You must fall in a heap, but you will survive. You've all learned many things in such a short time, so your heads must be sore and feel clogged up with slime. Phase 5 is where everything new quickly ends, and you find things to do without your new friends." Jack paused to see if Will understood, but his face still looked blank as it peeped from its hood. Sailor butted in. "Don't confuse the young tyke. Will, you need to find out what it is Skinner's like. Each one of you needs to figure it out to begin your new life and get out and about. Go home now, boys. Your family needs you. They'll want your help if they feel like you do." Harley jumped up and said, "Come on, Will. I know what they mean, so let's race down the hill." Will shook his head, said goodbye, and ran too. "Harley, I'm coming, and I will catch you." They both turned the corner to finish the race, when Will suddenly picked up the pace. He ran up the driveway and to the front door, bounding through to collapse on the carpeted floor. "I beat you, Harley," Will said as he puffed. Harley just took off his shoes and huffed. Then they both had a feeling that something was wrong. Their mum had been listening to a very sad song. "Mum, what's wrong?" Harley inquired. "Have you been crying, or are you just tired?" "It's this silly song," she said with a snuffle. Then she went back to eating a chocolate truffle. The boys snuck away to plan their next move, but found one more Skinner who'd lost their groove. Poor Ethan was sitting alone on his bed. Well, he wasn't quite sitting. He was on his head. Will shouted, "Ethan, don't sit on your head. It's dangerous. Sit on your bottom instead." Ethan said nothing as he slid from his bunk, which luckily sat on the lowest tree trunk. His hands touched the new painted wall. Then he rolled over and curled in a ball. His face was a mess and his hair was all scruffy. He needed a bath and a towel that was fluffy. Will was about to get him on his feet when he heard tires screech on the driveway concrete. Mr. Skinner was home. He'd know what to do, but he was the crankiest one in their crew. He grumbled and mumbled his way inside, not noticing his wife as she sat there and cried. Mr. Skinner asked, "Did you see what he did? That's the last time I carpool home with that kid. He's left tire marks out on the driveway, and I think he's too young to teach anyway." He finally noticed his family looked sad, so he sat down to ask them what was so bad. They chatted for hours, discussing the plan, every visit, bushwalk, and baked custard flan. Mr. and Mrs. Skinner seemed mad at first, but by bedtime their moods had almost reversed. Mrs. Skinner yawned as she kissed them good night, and 3 tired boys didn't put up a fight. They all had decided that they needed rest to enjoy what it was they all loved doing best. The rest of the week the Skinners kept quiet. They planned their new life and got ready to try it. Researching hobbies and learning new things made them thrilled to find out what the future brings. On the bus there were whispers of what was to come, but the Skinner boys quietly chomped chewing gum. At the bus stop they smiled and waved goodbye, leaving the other kids questioning why. It wasn't just the kids who were being nosy. The parents wished things were once again rosy. They peeped out windows and over the gates, even sent out their kids to get any updates. Inside the blue house the Skinners had fun, keeping their secrets as the others had done. They kept the house shut and stayed out of sight until all was in place and the moment was right. On Friday afternoon the street's peace was shattered by a thundering roar that saw all the birds scattered. They screeched and flew high over trees and the lake to leave that loud sound that approached in their wake. It grumbled and rumbled its way to the street, but who rode upon its black leather seat? It pulled into the driveway of number 4, revving the engine till they opened the door. The Skinners ran out to look at the bike, which was better than gardening or going for a hike. "How do you like it?" Mr. Skinner asked as he took off his helmet so he was unmasked. "Daddy, it's awesome," screamed Will as he stared. Harley said, "I want one," but his mother just glared. Mr. Skinner laughed and wiped sweat from his brow, saying 2 Harleys are enough for me right now. Harley asked, "Did you name your bike after me?" His dad replied, "Come over here and see. Right there on the badge, that is your name, and I thought you'd like this painted red flame." Ethan tried hard to escape from his mum, but she held him so tight her fingers went numb. "Not you, little man," she said as he wiggled. "That bike is too big. You just stay and get jiggled." In a flash all the neighbours came out for a look. Even the Lovejoys' runaway chook. Mr. Page joked, "Who's making that racket?" "Some scruffy bloke in a black leather jacket. I wouldn't have picked you for riding a bike, but I'm so glad you found something you like." Mr. Skinner laughed. "Yeah, thanks for that, mate. It sure beats hiking or making a gate. If you're lucky, I'll take you all for a ride, except the kids, who can watch from the side." The kids collectively groaned and complained, then ran off to their tree while the parents remained. Jack helped the 3 little ones with the climb, making sure they were safe and taking their time. Some couldn't wait and began asking questions, while others gave compliments or suggestions. "Stop, you're all talking at once," shouted Jack. "Can you all settle down and get back on track? We should just let Skinner boys talk anyway. I'm sure they have heaps that they'd like to say." "Okay," said Will. "I'd like to start by saying thank you with all of my heart. I'm sorry at times we fought and got mad, but you didn't give up, and for that I am glad. Well, my dad got a motorbike, as you saw. He was finding the school carpool was a chore. We've also got kayaks to row on the lake, with space for things we might want to take. What else has Dad been up to? He's shaved his whole head so he won't need shampoo. He's keeping the beard, though, and growing it long. He said it will suit him when he plays a rock song. Dad got us a hoop to play basketball, so it seems that he likes sports after all. He's made a workbench with a spot for each tool, and he let me watch him, which was really cool. That's it for him. Now on to me. My mum signed me up to learn karate. Dad's teaching me to play the guitar, but I only know 3 chords so far. I also think I'll give acting a try. I could be a superhero who knows how to fly." Harley giggled. "Yeah, right, Will. You can't even run fast down a hill. Anyway, Will, you've had your turn. I want to say what Mum's going to learn." See, Mum isn't happy doing her job. She has PJs that hang on every doorknob, so she plans to sell them, and the pillows too, to have time for the things she most wants to do. She likes swimming laps, and she sings like a bird. She also likes writing and rhymes every word. But the best bit of all is that we are a band. Dad plays bass while Mum's at the mic stand. So I'm going to play keyboards when I learn how, but I think I sound pretty good right now. It turns out Ethan likes banging on drums when he's not drooling or sucking his thumbs. So we've cleared out the lounge room and moved the TV to have space to play music. Would you like to come see? Will interrupted. We still need some practice. We sound like a dog that is stuck on a cactus. Soon we'll be good, and we'll play lots of shows. Then you can all watch while sitting in rows. That's it, I think. Thank you again. You all did great work. I'd give you a 10. Ruby blushed and said, That's okay. You guys are all right, and we'd like you to stay. Stay, yes, stay, Ethan shouted. He smiled now where once he pouted. Then he banged his chest and said, Baby me, jumping about on the boards up the tree. Settle down, Ethan, William instructed. If you fall, you'll need to be reconstructed. What's he trying to say? What he's trying to say is that there won't be more baby Skinners arriving to roll on the floor. Oh, but I did leave out one new arrival who will need our care to ensure her survival. She is white, fluffy, and very pretty. She's a Siamese cat, and we've called her Kitty. That's great, cheered Jonah. Pets are so fun. They can love you as much as anyone. Freya hissed. That's good to know, Jonah. I think it's your turn to walk our dog Fiona. It's time for us to go too, said Will. Thank you again. It's been a real thrill. Then he said as he walked to the ladder to climb, I hope we can help with the plan next time. Everyone laughed except for the Skinners. Will was confused by the tree full of grinners. Jack said, Will, you'll soon change your tune. See that vacant block there? They'll be building soon. The end.